Hello and welcome. This is the NTCA Technical Committee Roundtable. I'm Chris Woelfel. This is where we talk about the work of the Technical Committee, and today we're exploring two timely topics: the installation of profiles and recessed glass shower panels in tile assemblies. I recently met up with Mike Gillette, the CEO of Commercial Ceramics and a member of the NTCA Technical Committee, at a completed project in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's a beautiful installation at the headquarters of Harkins Theaters. It involves several bathrooms with porcelain tile and multiple types of profiles. It was this project that initiated a new subcommittee to examine best practices for the installation of profiles, or trim. Mike explained that upon completion of the project, his customer had some concerns about the tolerances, specifically how the profile aligned with the edges of the tile at the change of plane between the wall and the floor.
So after we finished the project, the owner had some concerns on the profiles, mainly the AHKA Cove. They were concerned about the lippage on there. I didn't think it was all excessive. So I said, well, let me see what the tolerances are. So I went back to the office, went to the reference manual. I did not find anything in the reference manual. After that, I proceeded to the TCNA manual. Well, there was a little snippet in the manual, and it said, please contact the manufacturer of the profile.
Mike contacted Schluter Systems. They sent out a representative to examine the project, and they confirmed the installation was indeed within tolerances and compliant with the manufacturer's installation recommendations. But the situation got Mike thinking that perhaps there needed to be some standards for the installation of profiles in tile, so he brought the idea to the Technical Committee for consideration, and a subcommittee was formed.
It is a beautiful installation.
Yeah, Harkins, they're very particular about their buildings. So we knew going into this project that this project was going to be challenging. We just didn't really feel that this was going to be the challenging issues. We figured it would be more of the lippage on the wall tile instead of the profiles.
Yeah.
So after that, that's what kind of started me with the subcommittee. I introduced that in Jacksonville. And so Jim and I from Schluter got our heads together and started. We talked about it in Vegas, and then we've added a few more people onto our subcommittee. Eventually, hopefully we'll get some standards in ANSI A108.2.
Yeah.
And from there, we'll probably have to get some standards in TCNA.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but we're going to do a cause, cure, and prevention for our members. That way they know when they're dealing with a profile to take extra precaution and kind of look at our cause, cure, and prevention recommendations.
Yeah, sure. You know, there are you have several different kinds of profiles in here, right?
Yeah.
So you have different considerations with each type of profile, right?
Yep.
And making sure those profiles and all those little pieces work together properly.
Correct. You got to have the right profile for the right application. You have to make sure you have the right thickness for the tile that you're installing.
Yeah.
And you got to take extra care with cleaning. You can't be leaving your thin set on the profile, as the polymers in the thin set will etch and take away the finish.
As tile assemblies have changed over the years, and ceramic bullnose products not being produced like they once were, design professionals turn to profiles, or trim, because of the beauty and functionality of the products. They are not only an attractive finish, but a protective edge to the end of a wall tile installation or the front lip of a step. As chairman of the NTCA Technical Committee, James Woelfel is both a contractor and a consultant. He explained that the work of the Profile Subcommittee, as well as the TCNA and ANSI, will help define the expectations of the GC, the designer, and the owner, as well as the installation accountability of the tile professional.
You know, I'm a big proponent of mock-ups.
Yeah.
Not to say they're mandatory. They're mandatory in certain circumstances. But it would be a good idea. I mean, how long does a mock-up take?
Sure.
Get a piece of Schluter, get the tile you're using, show the owner, show the GC, show the customer whoever to say, okay, this is as well as we can do it. Remember, it may sit up a little bit or a little down just because of the circumstances in the installation.
The subcommittee for the installation of profiles is bringing together installers and manufacturers of trim, tile, and setting materials, as well as other associations. And with the many categories, materials, and styles, that means there are also many aspects of profile installation that can influence any type of standards and best practices that are to be written.
We do have a lot of very knowledgeable people on our committee, and I look forward to getting it all done. It's probably going to take us a year and a half, maybe even 2 years to get it all put together with all the steps we have to do.
And if there are any NTCA members who want to kind of shoot an idea over to Mike, can they go ahead and do that?
You may absolutely do that, yeah.
Okay, great.
An element that is very popular in modern shower design is the frameless glass enclosure, particularly the recessed glass that we see in showers. Dan Lambert of Lambert Tile from the Vail Valley of Colorado is here to join us and talk to us about the work his subcommittee has been doing on recessed glass in tile assemblies. We have James Woelfel, the chairman of the technical committee from Artcraft Granite Marble and Tile in Mesa, Arizona, and Nyle Wadford from Youngsville, North Carolina. He is the president of Noose Tile, and he is the vice chairman of the technical committee. So Dan, talk to us about what was the original concern that was being raised, and then what do you hope to address in this precautionary letter that your committee has put together?
Well, Chris, the original concern was that people have been seeing glass details recessed into tile, and there was some concern as to how that was being done. Some folks were concerned that it was potentially a dangerous detail. And so Dirk Sullivan had brought up the idea in that manner to the technical committee, and then had asked if anybody wanted to take that on and chair that. And so I raised my hand, and we started the process. A lot of the concerns that we've been seeing is penetrations in the liquid applied waterproof membranes. And the glass company, they'll place a channel in, and then they'll screw that down, and screwing that down to secure it so it doesn't move is good for them, but it's bad for the overall assembly as it penetrates the waterproofing and compromises the entire job.
So Dan, in taking a look at your drawings that you provided, which are excellent, by the way, you're basically showing, rather than them creating or placing a track and screwing it through the membrane, you're showing, I think, how tile contractors can do it without that, possibly setting it on top of the membrane and maybe just caulking it in.
Correct. So how we were looking at that, and this is through years of practice and experience with this detail. It does take coordination between the glass company and the tile company, but what's worked out best is for the tile installer to actually have the perimeter of tile installed to create a plane to where the glass will set up to. So once the substrates are completed and everything's done and the tile is on one side of the glass, then the glass would come in, the glazers would install the glass with their clear silicone, and then shim it appropriately with their clear shims, and let everything dry up, cure, and then we pull their retaining blocks out and then tile the other side of it and caulk it in with a color matched 100% silicone between the glass to the tile. That's created the cleanest detail for a recessed glass enclosure, and that's what we've had the most success with.
And that certainly takes a lot of coordination. they actually have to be working hand in hand with you almost at the same time on the job site.
Correct. Correct. It's a detail that requires some pre-planning for sure.
No doubt. Coordination with the builder too.
Yes, sir.
Dan, I've seen a lot of these go wrong, both as a tile contractor, as a consultant, as a tile contractor. It's hard to get all those moving pieces together. The glazier, the owner, the GC, the home builder, or the designer architect. And what I've seen is they try to default back to screwing through our waterproofing. And so I think I love, like Nyle said, the drawings that you provided us are well done. I mean, how much pushback when you started doing this did you get from the parties that I mentioned before?
Primarily, we got a lot of pushback from the builder and the builders that we were working with. The reason they were pushing back was because they're used to doing things a certain way. They figure if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But then I guess after time and repeating myself and explaining things, more and more people really understood and adopted the idea. I had the glass company on board as well. And so having the support of the glass people on the job sites that we were working was a big key to letting the builder understand that this is something that is in fact doable and can be done in a sustainable manner if it's coordinated properly and executed properly.
The reason I ask is because as a consultant, my first major consultation job was on a 950 room resort here in Phoenix, where the showers were failing because they recessed the glass into the tile without coordinating the waterproofing. So the water was hitting the shower glass, going into that tile that wasn't waterproof, going down to the wall, going behind the shower system and leaking out into the entry of the hotel room. I had to replace all 950 showers, and it was a $55 million lawsuit against a tile contractor by the time it's said and done.
Wow.
So that's the real world for commercial. That's the real world problems with not coordinating and basically with not people listening. I mean, that's the hardest thing that Nyle and I and you have, is that some people, they don't take our expertise into consideration. They just say, this is the way we want it to look. You do what we want you to look. And you have the backbone. Nyle has the backbone, and I do too, to say, no, that's not what we're going to do. Was that hard to say no on some of these?
Early on, it was more difficult, but over 28 years of doing this myself, I've learned a lot and learned, that it is definitely better to look out for myself and look out for the longevity of the project. And so I don't get frazzled when somebody comes in big chested and tries to, throw their weight around of, you're going to do it this way. If I'm the one that's warranting that project and standing behind a detail, then I need to have, my full devotion into it. So I do, and it hasn't been a problem for years now with this detail.
Can you talk a little bit about what facets of the industry were represented on your subcommittee and possibly who they were? Sure.
So on the subcommittee, we had representation from tile installation companies, tile installers like Dirk Sullivan and Woody Sanders, Martin Brooks. On the material manufacturing side, we had Jim Harrington and Jim Wadiga. And, I felt like it was valuable to have the insight of the manufacturers as well, as they, create these systems to, be compatible with each other and so forth. And then, having the outlook from the installers as well really kind of helped to bring everything together.
Were they cognizant of the issues in the field? Had they seen what you were discussing with them?
Yes, yeah, to one degree or the other. They, Woody and Dirk had both seen this detail coming up more and more. Jim Harrington with Schluter Systems was familiar with a profile that they make for a recessed glass detail. And that's kind of another part of this, and is in the letter as well, is if somebody is going to use a profile, that it doesn't penetrate the membrane. And Schluter Systems does make a profile that accomplishes that. A penetration in a waterproof membrane in a shower receptor is just, it can be catastrophic, and it can be a very serious health and safety issue as well, when you start considering the impacts of moisture getting into areas where it doesn't belong. So this is it's a critical thing to get in the hands of the general construction design community, as well as the building community.
So the precautionary letter about the considerations for recessed glass in tile assemblies will be included in the next version of the NTCA reference manual, which is due to be published later this year. Watch for it in Chapter 6. Thank you to Dan Lambert and all of his subcommittee members for their hard work on this precautionary letter. We're going to be headed to coverings. We'll be talking with other members of the NTCA Technical Committee about the work they are doing to benefit the tile industry and what they have plans for the NTCA reference manual. Meantime, give us a like down below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.